Swami Shri Yukteswar, beloved Master, Paramahansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, we humbly bow before thee. Help us to prepare our hearts for the coming of the Christ consciousness, for your spark of spirit that lies right within us. Give us the strength and courage. The concentration and determination. To find that great pearl. And to share its light. In this world. Oh, peace. Amen. Good morning and welcome. Please have a seat.
Continue to meditate as you listen to these words on our affirmation for this week from Swami Kriyananda's Affirmations for Self-Healing. This week is on immortality. You are not your body. You are not your thoughts, your desires, your changing personality. Your body has a certain age, but you yourself have no age. Your body may tire or become unwell, but you yourself, the fatigueless soul, cannot tire, can never know disease. Tell yourself always, I am a child of eternity. Don't be identified with your outward form, nor with change, but live in timelessness. It is our identity with change that creates the illusion of passing time. Feel that through all outward changes, you, the immortal soul, remain the same. Death itself will be but one more change. Be not identified with it. Then when death comes, you shall rise in eternal freedom. Now let's affirm together first in a strong voice. I am a child of eternity.
I am a child of eternity.
I am ageless.
I am ageless.
I am deathless.
I am deathless.
I am the changeless spirit.
I am the changeless spirit.
At the heart of all mutation.
At the heart of all mutation.
And now taking it a little quieter, more deeply inside, but with even stronger intensity. I am a child of eternity.
I am a child of eternity.
I am ageless.
I am ageless.
I am deathless.
I am deathless.
I am the changeless spirit.
I am the changeless spirit.
At the heart of all mutation.
At the heart of all mutation.
And now in a whisper, broadcasting it deeply. I am a child of eternity.
I am a child of eternity.
I am ageless.
I am ageless.
I am deathless.
I am deathless.
I am the changeless spirit.
I am the changeless spirit.
At the heart of all mutation.
At the heart of all mutation.
And now silently, with the deepest focus, I am a child of eternity. I am ageless. I am deathless. I am the changeless spirit at the heart of all mutation. I am a child of eternity. I am ageless. I am deathless. I am the changeless spirit at the heart of all mutation. Please pray silently with me. Wherever my body travels outwardly, let me feel thy changeless presence within. Wherever my thoughts take me, let them return always, like prodigal children, to find repose in thee. Om.
Om.
Peace.
Peace.
Amen.
Amen.
Good morning again, and welcome to our Sunday service. Welcome to all those visiting us for the first time. My name is Dharmadevi, and this is my husband, Narayan. And this is week 49. Also, welcome to friends joining us online. This is week 49 from Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Ananda. And this week, our topic is, what is it to fail spiritually? Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. The first passage is from the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 25. Jesus tells the parable of the 10 virgins, 5 of them wise and 5 foolish. They await their bridegroom, the Christ consciousness. The wise virgins keep the oil in their lamps, symbolic of their devotion, lit through the night. The foolish virgins place no oil in their lamps. These foolish ones are like the average devotee, going through the motions of outer ritual, but keeping no fire of love burning in their heart. When the bridegroom's coming is announced, the foolish virgins realize their mistake and hasten out to purchase oil. During their absence, the Christ consciousness comes and embraces those who have been awaiting him with devotion. The foolish ones, by their lackluster devotion, are not accepted by him. Watch, therefore, Jesus told his listeners, for you know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh. In Autobiography of a Yogi, Paramhansa Yogananda describes the foolish virgins, the foolish virgin consciousness he encountered in the Mahamandal hermitage he stayed in as a young man in Benares. I was pleased, he wrote, that my new home possessed an attic where I managed to spend the dawn and morning hours. The ashram members, knowing little of meditation practices, thought I should employ my whole time in organizational duties. They gave me praise for my afternoon work in their office. Don't try to catch God so soon. This ridicule accompanied one of my early departures toward the attic. Later during meditation, I felt lifted as though bodily to a sphere uncircumscribed. Thy master cometh today. A divine womanly voice came from everywhere and nowhere. This supernal experience was pierced by a shout from a definite locale. A young priest nicknamed Habu was calling me from the downstairs kitchen. Mukunda, enough of meditation. You are needed for an errand. The Divine Mother's words were not spoken for the benefit of that priest, the foolish virgin, but for Mukunda, the wise virgin. For this was the day his guru, Sri Yukteswar, came to him. Grieve not, friends, if you feel that you have been foolish. No error is forever. Someday, if you keep your lamp lit now, your opportunity will come. In the Bhagavad Gita, the 6th chapter, Krishna promises every devotee, Arjuna, none who works for self-redemption will ever meet an evil destiny. Spiritual failure, though a deep disappointment, is always temporary. Eternal hellfire is but a projection of vindictiveness in the human mind. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om. Om. Om.
I'm ready to go to the library.
start with Whispers from Eternity. This is a book of Yogananda's prayer demands. And this is, teach me to conquer discord by holding close my own harmony. I care not if the shell fire of trials scream around me, and I pay little heed to the salvo shots fired in my honor. I mind not if machine guns of mischief are aimed at me to riddle me. For when thou art with me, I am safe behind the ramparts of thy protective light. Without thee, however, I would never be safe, even in the most impregnable fortress constructed by the best skills modern science can supply. I try never to rouse the wrath of others whose tempers are fired. No matter how they respond, however, I know that when I relax inwardly in thee, no one's anger with me can ever touch me. Bless me that I may heal the sharpnel wounds of disharmony in the lives of others. Teach me to drive out darkness from their minds and to prepare them for thy triumphal coronation in their hearts, O King Light. Bless me that I may bring a salve of sweet smiles to all melancholy souls, soothing showers to revive dry, arid minds, centuries of light to banish from their consciousness all the thieves of gloom, nectar of peace to all sorrow-parched hearts, and the glow of kindness to dispel dark cruelty everywhere. Teach me to subdue discord by calm waves of my own harmony. Teach me to conquer insincerity with sincerity. Bless me that I may overcome any habit of idle criticism of others by turning censure against myself instead. And teach me finally to give the nectar opiate of thy peace to all tormented minds, that they may find rest in thee. Really not much more to be said. I know a lot of you were at the Autobiography of a Yogi event we had this past Thursday. It was celebrating the 70th anniversary of the publication of that spiritual classic, Yogananda's seminal work that continues to touch the lives of millions of people. And there was a funny moment after the celebration. I met this Indian gentleman who was a part of SRF for many, long-time devotee, and many of you know as well, some may not, the movie Awake, which is about the life of Paramahansa Yogananda. And this man was filmed to be featured in Awake. And he was many hours, they did 6 to 8 hours of filming, and they told him, you're going to be in it, and all this sort of thing. And they said, we may even use your voice as Yogananda's voice. And then they told him, well, we're not going to use your voice, but you're definitely going to be in it. And he said, oh, okay. And so then they brought him to one of the first private screenings of the movie. They sat him down with just a few people. They showed it, the whole movie. He was nowhere to be found. But you know what I found so touching in his relation of this story was there was no malice in his heart. There was no sense of, wow, resentment. I should have been in that. He was so joyful in the telling of it. And so we sort of chuckled back and forth about that. And I said, well, you know, you made the big final cut. That's the important thing. In fact, there was another Phil Goldberg who was there who spoke about Yogananda. And those of you who don't know Phil Goldberg, he's a bald-headed man, and he had a maroon shirt on. And there was another man who was singing these Tibetan sort of chants, and he was also bald-headed and had a maroon shirt on. And so afterwards, this one man came up to Phil Goldberg and said, "Thank you so much for those beautiful melodies that you sung." He had mistaken him for this other man. But, you know, just these two little simple stories illustrate a very important point. And that is, like Dharmadevi had said many weeks ago, the importance of being unimportant. You know, and Swamiji was a great example of that. to not take oneself too seriously. Because on the spiritual path, what we're ultimately trying to do is transcend the ego, right? That is the ultimate goal. And there's still this nagging sense of individuality, right? When we're slighted or someone says something to us or rubs us the wrong way. It's very important on the path to be impartial to oneself, to one's little self, to not get caught in the likes and dislikes, right? We're trying to ride that straight and narrow path. Like Christ said, make straight the way for the coming of the Lord. This way it's narrow, meaning it's literally in the center of our own self, in our spine. And there was a story of Yogananda as well I wanted to share briefly in the New Path that illustrates the great master's way of looking at the body, which is helpful for us to hear. This is towards the end of his life when he was going through his body was going through diseases and certain things, and he actually asked the monks, Swami Kriyananda was one of them, to actually carry his body at one point. And so he said, "Carry my body," Master laughed one day as we bore him up a flight of stairs, "and I'll carry your souls." Another time he remarked, smiling, "This body is not everything. Some people have feet, but can't walk all over." He meant walk all over the infinite. Right? Not a mistake of what he meant there. Another time he remarked, gradually his condition improved. One afternoon, I was helping him into his car. "You're getting better, sir," I exclaimed thankfully. "Who is getting better?" Master's tone was impersonal. "I meant your body, sir. What's the difference? The wave protruding from the ocean bosom is still part of the ocean. This is God's body. If he wants to make it well, all right. If he wants to keep it unwell, all right. It is best to remain impartial. If you have health and are attached to it, you will always be afraid of losing it. And if you are attached to good health and become ill, you will always be grieving for the good you have lost. Man's greatest trouble is egoism, the consciousness of individuality. He takes everything that happens to him as affecting him personally. Why be affected? You are not this body. You are he. Everything is spirit." I found this to be deeply inspiring, this reminder. This is the challenge that we all face, right? The ego, as Master described it, is the soul, identified with the body and the personality, right? We've become hypnotized to think, well, we're this little bag of bones and with this bundle of self-definitions, but how do we actually break that? There's that beautiful song that Ram has sung in Swami's oratorio called Living Water, and the beginning of it, "Though fallen deep in sin, by men abandoned, if longing for his grace, truth be your guide. From living water, sipped in the silence, in spirit and in truth, break ego's spell." You see, the ego's spell is broken when we sip that still silence of God's nectar in meditation, in inner communion with him. That is the only way that we can break the spell of the ego. And it has to be meditation combined with intense activity. Swami Kriyananda was a wonderful example of this. And Yogananda said, "Your life is one of intense activity and meditation." And Swamiji always used to remark, "I think there's a reason you put intense activity first." Because Swami wrote all these books. He helped found these communities. He did all these things in loving service to his guru. But the point is, like Krishna counsels Arjuna, to be calmly active and actively calm. That your meditation feeds your service, and your service feeds your meditation, and all of them work together to break the spell of the ego. Who's doing all the serving? Who's doing Who's meditating? It's God playing through you. But we need to continue to break the spell of the ego and not allow this sense of individuality to creep in, because it's a very subtle thing. Even people on the spiritual teachers, right, can get caught in spiritual pride. And this is why the example of Swami I'm so grateful for, because he taught us that real, true leadership is service. Anything that we do that is worthwhile is in service to other people. There is another passage I wanted to share. This is from Revelations of Christ, proclaimed by Paramahansa Yogananda, presented by Swami Kriyananda. And in this passage, he's talking about, well, how do we break this spell of the ego? And it's not enough just to think have high positive thoughts. That also, one of the missing keys is energy, is redirecting our energy. Like Christ said, love the Lord with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, and all your strength. So remember that word strength is meaning energy. And this is where the practice of the yoga techniques, things like Kriya Yoga, and as Yogananda said, the greater the will, the greater the flow of energy, the greater the willingness, the greater the joy, the greater the love, the greater the sense of openness, that energy can then flow through you. So Swamiji shares here, merely to tell oneself, however, I just won't think about it, is almost never adequate. Often, the more one tries not to think about something, the more he finds himself drawn irresistibly to thinking about it. The solution then is to direct energy with willpower towards some other more wholesome thought or activity. Don't merely try not to dwell on thoughts that you want to avoid. Vigorously divert the mind with energy in a new direction. Habits, my guru once told me, can be overcome in a day. They are only concentration of the mind. Concentrate differently, and a wrong habit can be banished in an instant. He also said that this new direction of concentrated thought must be accompanied by a vigorous, new, and creative flow of energy. The greater the will was his maxim, the greater the flow of energy. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah, it's not enough for us to think it. We need to vigorously redirect the energy in a wholesome new direction, the creative flow of spirit. I wanted to close with a personal story, because this is the holy season and preparing. That's what this reading is about, preparing for the coming of the Christ consciousness, keeping our hearts open and filled with devotion. And we all go through tests on the spiritual path. And one of the greatest ones is discouragement, is despair. I was speaking with my mother and a close friend of ours killed themselves. And it was very obviously traumatic and challenging, and just pulling all heartstrings in many different directions. And we talked about it for a long time. And she was saying, well, I grew up Roman Catholic, and so she was saying, well, in the church, this person is now, it's a mortal sin, so they're in hell for eternity. I said, Mom, that doesn't make any sense. A finite cause cannot have an infinite effect. This is the way the Master talked about it. We all make mistakes. And even in the mistake of someone getting to the point of such utter despair that they have to take their own life, yes, that's a mistake. But do you think, like that story Dharmadevi shared the other week of the man who Yogananda met up in Washington, and he said, you have a son, don't you? And he said, yes, I do. He said, that son gives you trouble. He said, oh my goodness, you wouldn't believe my son. He goes out riotous living, he's drinking, he's with women, he's doing all this, he's wasting my money. And then Yogananda changed the subject and they talked about his strawberries, that this man is a farmer. And then he said, I think I have a solution for how to deal with your son. Do you have some rope? And he said, yes. And he said, what are you getting at? He said, well, no, just go with me on this for a moment. Do you have an oven, like a big oven? And the man said, yes. He said, next time your son comes home drunk, tie him up in the rope and throw him in the oven. And the man said, what are you talking about? I never do that to my son. Get out of here. And then right when he could see there was some openness, Yogananda paused and said, well, do you think you, who are his earthly father, who couldn't do that to him, how much love do you think the Heavenly Father has for your son? How much love? And I shared that story with my mother, and I said, Mom, we who loved our friend so much and have so much compassion for him and understanding of the trial that he was going through, we who are limited in our understanding, how much love do you think God has? How much love do you think Divine Mother has? So I'd like to suggest that we prepare for the coming of the Christ consciousness by opening our hearts to Divine Mother. And remember, she is that divine energy. It's that cosmic vitality. We were just talking in Raja Yoga yesterday how the first chakra, the color of it, it's actually golden. It's the way Yogananda described it. It's that entrenched vitality, the Kundalini life force that needs to be awakened through the purity of our hearts. And as long as we keep trying, as long as we make a sincere effort, God will always be there for us. And remember, like Swami said, just affirm, I haven't yet succeeded. And as Master said, a saint is a sinner who never gave up. God bless you.
To me, Jesus, fill me with thy light. Come to me, Jesus, fill me with thy light. Come to me, Jesus, fill me with thy light. Come to me, Jesus, fill me with thy light. Come to me, Jesus, fill me with thy light. Come to me, Jesus, fill me with thy light. Vieni presto, Gesù, vieni ben. Vieni presto, Gesù, vieni ben. Vieni presto, Gesù, vieni, vieni. Vieni presto, Gesù, vieni, vieni. Vieni presto, Gesù, vieni, vieni. Vieni presto, Gesù.